morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Sir Meerkat, and welcome back to the Moto Meerkat channel. Now, it's been a little bit of a while since I've done a Team Wiped video, and I was thinking, what team can I cover for the next episode? And then, obviously, if you haven't seen the last episode of my F1 YouTuber Hot Seat series, without that, I'll leave a link down in the description, but he had to guess this car. I'm not sure where I'm going to put it on the screen. He had to guess this car, and he guessed Honda. Now, it's actually the Super Aguri, as you would know if you've seen the episode, and I thought, let's delve into that team a little bit today, because if he can't even recognise it, then I think people need to know a bit more about it. So yeah, without further ado, let's have a look into the Super Aguri F1 team. Now, the Super Aguri team was created by Aguri Suzuki, not to be confused with the creator of Suzuki cars though, that's Michio Suzuki. And the Super Aguri outfit would end up competing in Formula 1 from 2006 to 2008. Honda completed the buyout of the BAR team at the end of 2005, and during this acquisition they would keep their lead driver Jenson Button, but they would end up replacing the driver Takuma Sato with Rubens Barrichello. And obviously that driver pairing of Button and Barrichello would go on to win the championship with Brawn in 2009. But back in 2005, the departure of Sato caused great sadness with his fans. Obviously, I think he was one of, if not the only Japanese driver in the sport at the time, and the public pressure on Honda to sort of assist Sato in his re-entrance into Formula 1 ultimately caused the creation of the Super Aguri outfit, and they would end up acting as sort of a B team to the Honda team. Super Aguri would register its interest to enter Formula 1 in 2006, but on FIA's official press release that they would do before every season, their name was not included. And this was reportedly because the team had failed to produce the $48 million entry bond that was needed for entrance to the championship, and they didn't do it on time. The team then had to reapply for entry after paying this bond, but that also was a little bit difficult because it meant that they would need unanimous agreement between all of the teams on the grid to say, yeah boys, you're sound to join. And it was looking swell, to be fair. The teams seemed fine with their entry, except for Midland F1, who appeared to block the deal due to the reduced TV revenue that they were going to get for it. But these issues, I'm not sure how, they were eventually squashed, and Super Aguri were allowed to enter Formula 1 for the 2006 season. For this inaugural season, the car would start as it meant to go on, being adorned with Honda's red and white colours and featuring a nod to the team's sort of Japanese heritage as such, with oriental patterns and Japanese writing. The car would be, of course, powered by Honda engines and use Bridgestone tyres, but the chassis was an updated version of the 2002 Arrows A23 car, who didn't exactly do incredibly. Takuma Sato and the GOAT Yuji Ide would be the initial drivers for the team. Other than simply being Japanese, Ide seemed like an odd choice of driver to partner Sato, as he was quite old, but despite his age didn't really have any experience in Formula 1. And I could go into far more detail about Yuji Ide. He's an incredible man, but Josh Ravel has already done a great job with that, so I'll leave a link to his video in the description. And to sum up the team start, Ide stated after the third race in Australia, again, weird that Australian race is not the first, but he said, "This is the first time that Taku and I have finished a race, so I'm happy about that." Yeah, quite the achievement there from the Super Aguri boys. And after only 4 races, it was announced that Frank Montagna would be replacing Yuji Ide for the second seat in the car, but I'll put it bluntly, he's not very Japanese. This was after Yuji Ide's super license was revoked by the FIA due to his huge crash that he had with Christian Albers that I mentioned in the MF1 video. But Montagna would soon lose his seat to Sakon Yamamoto. The car would slowly improve throughout the year, but it would eventually culminate in a 10th place at the Brazilian Grand Prix for Takuma Sato. Before the race year started, it was reported that Super Aguri would be using the Honda 2006 chassis for their 2007 season. But this would come under huge resistance from rival teams such as Williams and Spiker, who believed that it would be against the regulations if they did this. Which is quite a similar situation to what we're seeing nowadays between Racing Point and Renault, them obviously being branded as the pink Mercedes. But that issue that they had wouldn't be resolved, as to do so it would involve legal action, and none of the teams were really willing to get into that, so it sort of just swept under the rug a bit. And for the 2007 season, Takuma Sato would remain, but the second seat would again change hands, this time to Anthony Davidson, who's now a Sky Sports F1 presenter, but again, I'll put it bluntly, he's not very Japanese. And the outfit would also announce that SS United Group Oil and Gas Company would be the title sponsor for the season, but that group would end up defaulting on their sponsorship payments, and that meant that Super Aguri would have to cut 30 of their members of staff. The team suffered a major setback in 2007 as the car would not pass the FIA crash test. This would meant that the unveiling of the actual car that did end up passing the crash test only happened 48 hours before FP1 in Australia. The car would feature a very similar livery to the previous year, continuing to use the Japanese red and white colours, and despite the setbacks that they had, Davison and Sato would shock the paddock at the first round when they qualified 10th and 11th respectively. And the fortune would continue well for Sato in the race. He would end up coming home in 12th, but Davison had a crash with Spiker's Adrian Sutil on the opening lap, sent him flying in the air and really hurt his back. Now he did manage to bring the car home in 16th, but after the race immediately was rushed to hospital with back problems. But the back problems weren't horrendous. He was able to continue racing throughout the season, and the team would go on to even greater success, with Sato securing an 8th place in the Spanish Grand Prix and a 6th place in the Canadian Grand Prix, and those points would eventually allow for Super Aguri to finish 9th in the standings for that year. For the 2008 season, the driver lineup would remain unchanged. Obviously, they've been getting better and better throughout the 2007 season, so why would they end up changing it? Now, the Magma Group had reportedly acquired an unspecified portion of the team, but Magma would again, similarly to the last oil company, they would end up pulling out over the agreement, leaving Super Aguri's future hanging in the balance. The team ended up postponing the launch of their SA08 car and did not attend the final pre-season tests as the parts for the car had not arrived yet. But they were adamant that they would indeed attend the first round in Australia, and they kept to their word. They turned up for Australia and the other 3 opening rounds of the season. But when the Super Aguri trucks turned up in Turkey for round 5, they were denied entry to the track. Now this was because Honda Racing CEO Nick Fry had told organisers before the race that Super Aguri would not be attending. And on May 6th, 2008, team founder Aguri Suzuki announced that Super Aguri would be withdrawing from the 2008 Formula 1 World Championship, and the team ended up entering administration the following day. And the team's assets were bought by a German businessman called Franz Hilmer. Now he would go on to attempt to apply to enter the 2010 F1 season under the Brabham name, but that would not be successful in the end, and his dream would die a death. And nothing would really come from the Super Aguri team from there. It sort of died and faded away, and we didn't really see anything of it. But there we have it. That's the interesting story of what was sort of an attempt at a Japanese Formula 1 team, at points not really having Japanese drivers, but hey ho. They would have many ups and downs throughout their 3 seasons in the sport. Well, sort of 2.5 if you're really counting. But like most of the teams in this series, they would end up just being scuppered by money. They just run out of money. People would screw them over with sponsorship deals and buyouts and stuff, and they end up just falling into obscurity. So very sad for the Super Aguri team. I'd love to see some more Japanese men in the sport very soon. But if you did enjoy this video, be sure to slap a little like on it down below. And while you're down there, click that red subscribe button as well, because I make motorsport content every Tuesday and every Friday that you're not going to want to miss. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video again, guys. I super appreciate all your support recently, and especially on the Team Wipe series. Loving it, boys. So keep it up. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see all of you meerkats later. Goodbye, guys.